Hey guys, how's everything going? Um, yeah, welcome to the start of this channel. Now I've been wanting to do this for a really long time. It was something that was on my heart for quite a bit, and yeah, I think I'll start by explaining basically what I've been feeling, what I've been wanting to do, and just kind of like the direction that this is going to take. Um, One of the things that I've heard over the past several years, throughout time, is kind of every single medium of the technological era that we're in has gone through some ups and downs. There's been good things, there's been some bad things, and not all of it necessarily lines up. And so what I felt was every single aspect of our lives, there's a creative spark. And each medium, whether it be, your workspace, your family, um, your hobbies, your whatever you interact with on a day-to-day basis, like there's a creative spark in each of us to do something that is unique to each and every one of us. And for some people, that could look wildly different. Like some people are called to be janitors for the entirety of their lives. That's good. That's great. Some people are called to be, working at a desk job from a 9 to 5. Also great. Some people are called to, be coaches, teachers, um, actors, all sorts of different types of careers and different types of callings. And so I was kind of looking around, and one of the places that I see such a big contrast between like good and bad is the gaming area. Every single game that comes out has a team that's attached to it. There's the designers, there's the developers, there's the ones that fund it, like the amount of funding that goes into games. Like every single game that comes out has a creative process to it. The people sat down and made the effort to create something for people. And at the end of the day, games can be used in many different ways, and some of them good and some of them bad. One critique that I hear from games like constantly is that, oh, they're super addictive, right? They're incredibly addictive. Like I see so many, like, people just waste their time on it. In one sense, that's true. You can become so addicted to something that it's just, it consumes you. It's like I've seen people spend like, 2,000 hours on a game that they barely enjoy, and for what? Well, just to kind of get a release, right, get an emotional release, feel better, do something that's, kind of like an escape from work or something like that. And you're right, that is not good, but I would argue that there's a better way to go about approaching this medium than just saying that, okay, just because it has the potential to do this, then now all of it is bad, right? That's too far in the opposite direction. And so, what I felt in my heart is every single media starts somewhere, right? Each of us has this own unique gift inside us that God placed inside of us. And for some, that could be designing games. And just because that is a tough media to be in does not necessarily mean that it's something that there isn't healthy work to be put into it. There's so many games that I'm sure have been made with like the best of intentions. Is they're being produced because somebody had a creative vision, somebody had an idea, and whether or not we agree whether it was a good idea or a bad idea, somebody made the to put in the time and effort to create this game just so that we could have something fun to do, something enjoyable. And a lot of times when that happens, you know, we almost forget, like, because it's so technological, we almost forget that there are real people behind these games, real people behind these works of art. And at the same time, in the YouTube space, there are real people creating these videos, and it's so easy to treat everything as a black and white, where it's like, oh, I found one bad aspect of it, therefore I'm going to avoid it, or I found one good aspect of it, therefore it's the best thing ever. And that's never the case. The world operates in shades of gray. I think the reason why games have become so either demonized or worshipped in one way or another is because it does have the ability to do that. You can worship it to the point where it becomes your life, and you can demonize it because of the amounts of negative content that's on there. And so being in this duality, it's like finding a middle ground where your games are meant to be enjoyed, and how do you balance enjoying it without it going too far in one direction, and choosing content wisely where you're not going to be diving too much into things that are just genuinely unhealthy for you. And so my goal with this channel is going to be, I'm going to play a bunch of games that, number one, that I have on my library, but I'm also going to go into a deep dive of those games. I think the goal for each game is going to be to play it to its entirety, and all my games are on Steam, so I'm going to be trying to get all the achievements on Steam, if that's doable. If there's a multiplayer aspect that's just, if it's an old game and it's dead, might have to find a work around it. But on the whole, the goal is going to be that I 100% the game on Steam, basically play it to its maximum capacity, and then afterwards what I'm going to do is I'm going to rate the game, and I'm going to do a deep review into it, what the good things about it, the bad things about it, what I found difficult, what I didn't find difficult, good things about the designs of the game, and bad things about the design of the game. So basically doing a deep dive into the creativity of the game, because I genuinely believe that every game is designed with a unique purpose. Every person who worked on this game is bringing like a little bit of themselves, and I want this to be a space where we can celebrate the creativity of others and what they put into it. And obviously, it's not going to be all positive. Sometimes I'll play a game and I'll be like, what, this didn't really hit me as much, and I'll probably have something to say about that. But just because I have, a critique on a certain game doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad game. Somebody can enjoy, Call of Duty to the level that they do, and I personally don't find them as entertaining anymore. That's why opinions exist and why opinions are so important. And I think just having this channel be a space where we can celebrate the creativity in things for creativity's sake. And so I just wanted to share this in the hopes that this can be a start where we can start to look at things in our lives and in our areas of effect that are not necessarily this black and white, where it's good or bad, right? And it's like this little gray, and how do we operate inside that gray? There are going to be games that I play that, yeah, there's going to be things in it that are not going to be really good. And what do we do with that? Do we run from it? Or do we say, okay, this is an aspect of the creativity that's in here. How much is it going to affect me if I keep going into it? And I'll explain a little bit more what I mean by that. So I will go into which games I will not play. Anything that has even like a hint of sexual content in it that is off topic, right? You will never catch me doing anything like that. And anything that has to do with horror, I'm also not going to be diving into. Sexual content it's an intimate moment, and that's never something that should be publicized. It's not meant to be this public spectacle for everybody to see. And so stuff like that really shouldn't be on available for people to access. I mean, there's a reason why there's a dark side to the internet, and that's a giant dark side, is when stuff like that gets publicized and intimate moments are made public. It's damaging to the soul, and not just for the people who are watching it, but also the people who are doing it. Because at the end of the day, you're you're projecting an image of yourself out there that's saying, hey, like, every single aspect of me is public now. And it's going to be really hard if at some point you want to be like, hey, I want to go back to being private. It's going to be really hard to do that when you're in a space that's, you've left everything out on the table. And that's just like the surface level reason. Like there's so much more in-depth things that I could go into that I don't really have the time for right now. But maybe I'll make a video about it later. But that's one of the contents that I'm going to be actively avoiding. The other content that I'm going to be avoiding is horror. And there comes a point where playing games where everything is bad and everything is meant to be terrifying and everything is meant to bring out these negative emotions in you, it doesn't respond with me very well, because I will get into a negative spiral loop and it will affect me. Playing something that wants to bring out the negative emotions in you, it's not the best thing to do, right? Especially if you're one of those people who's playing it just to get scared. I personally don't find that very helpful, because it just encourages, like, terror and frightening emotions in you. And if you're desensitized to it, well, like, that's not good either, because you want to have a healthy dose of fear. These are meant to be fun. They're meant to be fun. They're not meant to be, induced as still, like, induce a feeling of terror. They're not meant to induce a feeling of, like, like wanting to run out and leave the room. They're not meant to have lasting effects. And horror tends to have more of that effect, because that's what they're going for. When they're creating horror game, they want you to be scared. They want you to jump out of your skin. And so I personally don't think that that's a good way to interact with the world. And so that's going to be content that I avoid. So if you're mentioning stuff like that, that that's not going to be something that I touch. Once you start feeding into those negative emotions, that's when games stop becoming fun and become more than just a game. Games are meant to be enjoyed. It's meant to be a place where you can, kind of appreciate the creativity in it, and something that makes you feel, negative certain of emotions, or if it makes you feel, or if it makes you take moments that are meant to be shared in a specific context and twists that context, then I think that's when it starts to get taken too far. And there are games that do that, unfortunately. There are games that literally thrive on being as, shall I say, demonic and gory and scary and sexual. And there is a dark side to gaming. And I'm not saying that it doesn't exist. But at the same time, there's so many games that are amazing games, wonderful works of art that come under that exact same scrutiny. Every game is a story. It might not be explicitly, but every game has its own unique story that brought it from where it started to where it is now. And so being in a space where this is legitimately watching somebody's story that they took time on and tried to create and unfold, that's what we're going to be looking through on this channel. That's what we're going to be searching. And at the end of the day, that's the goal of any type of hobby and any type of entertainment and any type of any form of that type of content, right? It's meant to make people happy. It's meant to make people enjoy themselves. So that's the goal. That's where we're going to be headed. I think it's also important to recognize two things. Number one, this space is meant to be a space where you can have fun, but I also recognize that people are going to have different opinions on what they consider good and what they consider bad. Everybody needs to have discernment about what is going to affect them when they interact with a certain medium, and how to recognize what medium is actually going to bring them enjoyment. That's why when you see a lot of YouTubers, their goal is usually on something specific, right? A guy's not going to do a football YouTube channel because he hates football, and yet it's going to bring, enjoyment to a lot of people. It's not a good way to use your medium. He might be right, but at the end of the day, he's not bringing himself into the space. He's creating things for other people's pleasure, which, if I hated that level of content and I did it every single day, I'd be miserable. And I don't want this to be a place where we're miserable, and it never should be. It should be a place where we can come and discuss our creative differences. We can discuss, the ways that we interact with everything in a way that it should be. We're all coming together to learn, and we're all coming together to ultimately have fun, because these games are meant to be that. They're meant to be fun. They're not meant to be stressful. They're not meant to be, you beating yourself over the head with a certain challenge you just can't beat. They're not meant to be something that you obsess over. They're not meant to be something that will bring out the worst in you. It's actually, games like this are meant to bring out the best in you. And because there's such a wide variety, that best might be a small percentage of games that are out there. And at the end of the day, everybody needs a level of discernment that says, hey, what am I affected by? And what actually brings me happiness, or joy, or an appreciation for what I'm doing in the space. It's going to be, I'm going to be exploring a wide variety of games, and you might see that, hey, I might not like these types of games, and I might like these more, right? And so maybe the content shifts to a little bit more around that, where I play a little bit more of a certain type of game. But that at the end of the day, we're all unique individuals, and we're all going to have things that we appreciate and we find enjoyment in that somebody isn't, and that's okay. It is okay to be different, right? And it's also okay to go to a different channel. I recognize that this will not be the cup of tea for everyone. That's fine. At the end of the day, I'm just trying to show you guys what I enjoy and give my opinion on the things that I'm enjoying, right? And for you guys, you'll either enjoy my opinion and what I have to say and the way that I present it, or you won't. And if you don't, just click the unfollow button or click the unsubscribe button. You don't. I'm not going to be trying to retain as much audience as possible, because again, this is going to be fun for me. I'm not doing this because I need to make money or I need, a job. I'm doing this because it's fun and it's a hobby for me. I do want this to be a space where we can interact with each other in a positive mindset and not a negative one. And so that's really the goal for this channel. The goal for this channel is to be a space where we can all interact with each other in a healthy way and bring back the creative spark, bring back the positivity, bring back the love for somebody's calling and appreciating what they've made and appreciating what they've created. And so the more that we can do that in the world, the more I believe people will see that this world isn't very black and white. It's a very gray. And it's our decisions in those gray spaces that make the difference. And it's redeeming things that are broken, and it's fixing things that need to be fixed. And sometimes it's rejecting things that need to be rejected. But most importantly, it's about celebrating the uniqueness and the blessings that have been put in our lives. And each person's unique calling and unique desire that's being put out on paper. And this goes for any workspace. It's not just going to be for this. It can be for your work. It can be for your family. It can be anywhere you go. There's the same call. Is to love God and to love others. And so this is a space where we get to love each other. This is a space where we get to love each other as from me to you. And this is a space where we get to love others in terms of the creativity that they've cultivated and the mediums that they've interacted with. And it's a chance for you guys to love each other as well. Right? I know YouTube comments can be a nasty place, but hopefully this will be a space where we can really start to bring some of that positivity back, bring some of that love for a medium that has been all too often demonized or worshipped in ways that are very unhealthy. And so I'm excited for all you guys to come on this journey with me. We'll probably be sending out that first game very soon, and we're just going to go on this journey together. And so thank you guys so much for sticking around through this long intro, but I feel like it's an important intro to make, and just kind of setting the tone for what it's going to look like in the future. So yeah, I'll see you guys when I post the next one. Bye bye.